Hi, Maddie. How are you?
I am grand, Haley. How are you?
I am good. I have got a good topic for us today. You're going to like it.
Oh, exciting. What is it? What is it? What is it? Tell me more.
So, I want to have a conversation publicly that me and you
hmm
having private constantly.
This is the theme of this podcast.
Yes. And so when we first became friends, I think we bonded around this and we talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And so I thought, let's have this conversation publicly. So I want to talk about how me and you personally reconcile making money and being socialists.
Nice. I love this sort of topic. Yeah,
Yes,
bro.
because I think for some people, it can feel like you can't have socialist values and be interested in making money.
hmm
I know a lot of socialists who feel like that. And so I thought we would have that conversation.
hmm
And the last time we had a conversation about making money on this podcast, the Mo Money Mo Problems
hmm
episode, we talked a lot about how out earning people in your life can have an effect on your relationships and stuff like
hmm
that. And so I think leading on from that, let's have another conversation about money and how it can challenge another area of your life, which might be your values.
I love it. And for anyone who is maybe not as political and is thinking like socialism, what's this? Where do I sit? I would also align this, or for me, this aligned with also being working class, with being northern,
Mm-hmm.
and being from a sort of punk alternative scene. So all of those things for me wrap into the same mentality of like, am I allowed to make money if I am X, Y, and Z? So let's
Yeah, a
let's wrap them all
punk.
together. A socialist,
It
lefty,
is.
punk, northerner, all of the above.
Yes, I'm not a punk, but I'm a socialist lefty.
Working class
I
northerner.
was a raver.
Yeah, it's all the same stuff, isn't it? Same stuff, different outfits. So, love this topic. Amazing. I want to know where this has been shown up for you first and foremost.
I see this in my work, actually, at coaching hairdressers who are stressed quite a lot.
hmm
And I notice things like hairdressers staying poor on purpose. And we've talked about that in the other episode, but
Yeah.
people staying poor on purpose because they don't want to be seen in a certain light.
hmm
And I really understand, like, I've had conversations with people who are very left leaning who feel like you can't be left leaning and wealthy.
Yes. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a something goes on in their head. And
hmm
I was coaching a hairdresser that I really like, and she brought this up, and she said she was starting to make great money in her
hmm
business, and she said it's sitting uncomfortably with me as a socialist.
Yeah.
And I said to her, "Oh, I've got something to say about this." And I said to her, "Me and Maddie talk about this a lot, and this
hmm
is how I make peace with it."
hmm
And so the first time I heard someone talk about make feeling good about making money and really spoke to me was Oprah.
Yeah.
Oprah
Of
in her
course.
endless wisdom.
I love it. Yeah.
Who doesn't love Oprah? Oh God, I love her. And I don't know when it was, Maddie. I'm not really sure, but it was years ago.
hmm
And I think she was being interviewed. It could have even been on her show, God knows. But she basically said something about, I want to see more money in the hands of good people. And I just
I
thought,
love.
yes, that was so powerful to me. And it absolutely shaped
Let's give us a
how I
little.
thought about money. I know it shaped
Yeah.
how I thought about money going forward. And when I see people who are maybe left leaning, but maybe they're not left leaning, but they just have a thing about not wanting to earn money because it will turn them into a bad person, or they have
hmm
feelings about that. This really made sense to me, was that the world would be better if
hmm
there was more money in the hands of good people who were doing good stuff with it. And so I thought to myself, I want to get rich so I can do some good stuff with that money.
Like, how simple is
And
that?
so that's, yeah. And it really was just a switch flicked in my head of, that makes sense. That's something really good to work towards.
hmm
It felt really powerful and empowering for me. And when I told this client about that, she was just like, yes, thank you. This
I love
makes
that.
sense. And I do watch this person doing good stuff with the money they're making.
Yeah.
And so I'm thrilled about that. But what about you, Maddie?
Well, I was going to ask
Where
you
did
because
this come from for you?
I'm into I'm into money stories, and I think a lot of this comes
Hmm.
from like childhood upbringing, society, and all of this sort of jazz. So I would love to know, or if it's helpful for us to share like pre-Oprah and pre our conversations, what were both of
Yeah.
our money stories around like people who did make money, because I know what mine is, and I'd love to know what yours is. Like, what was in the Jepson household back in the day, growing up in Manchester? What was the story around money, about not having money, about being working class, or about being a socialist as it related to money?
Yeah, my family are working class, would define themselves as working class, and are very proud of that, actually. And so, I was just raised a working class person. But what's really interesting is, and I attribute this to my mum, actually. My mum is she doesn't have. I was raised not to have feelings about rich people as they were awful or
That's good.
special.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, and I think this is a brilliant thing that Linda did. But somehow she just sort of drilled into me that, yeah, they might have more money, but they're not better than you, and they're not different, and you just talk to them the same as you talk to everybody else. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw my mum do that, and I just thought that was. And when I've reflected on that now as an adult, I think, wasn't that brilliant that
Yeah.
I was raised like that? And so I wasn't really raised with suspicion of rich people
Yeah.
or bad feelings about rich people, even though we were extremely working class.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would say that my parents were raised, you know, in really, really simple
Mm-hmm.
backgrounds. They're both the first people in their families to own their own house and
Wow.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, but I think what's really more interesting for me around this is that this was all about politics for me. It was
Mm-hmm.
politics in our house. My family are extremely left leaning. I
Mm-hmm.
was raised that way. And as a young person, I remember paying attention into the 80s, and my dad was unemployed for years. Money was a problem. I was
Mm-hmm.
watching the miners' strike on the TV.
Yeah.
I remember the anger in my house around the deal working class people were getting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when my beliefs around money were focused. And it was more around the shit deal I thought working class people were getting.
Yeah.
And that's how I was raised. I saw the news, I saw Thatcher, I heard what everyone in my house had to say about her. And, the miners' strike just seemed appalling. And so my feelings were all about how working class people were being hard done to. And I realised the way to solve that was to be, well, I decided the way to solve that was to be left leaning. And so
Yeah.
it wasn't really about money for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was politics.
Yeah. And I guess
Yeah.
how little money was left for people because of, you know, politics and Thatcher and everything.
Yeah.
How little was left for the working class people, or how hard it was for them, I guess, financially.
Yeah. And I wasn't angry at rich people,
Yeah.
and my family were not angry at rich people. They were
Yeah.
angry at the government.
As it
I
should
saw the
be.
problem as the government, not the
Yeah.
yes, not
Yeah.
the people with money. I didn't see that. That wasn't
Interesting.
drilled into me as the problem.
Yeah.
It was politics and the
Yeah.
government, etc., etc. So I became very lefty, very young.
Yeah. That's really interesting because mine's like kind of the opposite. It's almost as if we've started on opposite ends of the spectrum, kind of met in the middle of the road. So I didn't really become very sort of politically active until my early 20s. But when I did, I really did, and I have sort of been ever since. This may be a bit of a surprise to our wonderful listeners, but actually both of my parents voted Tory horrendously. I'm still mad about it, and both for very, very different reasons. And I found out actually quite recently that my granddad, my maternal granddad, who I absolutely adored, was so close to, absolutely loved Margaret Thatcher. God knows why.
Oh,
He's born in 1920 in Sunderland. Went and fought in the war,
yeah,
like wild.
yeah,
I feel like as the kids say these days, they were in the Delulu era, But so maybe a bit of aspirational Tory, like if we vote for them, maybe we'll become, we'll have money.
Yeah.
So actually quite a few people in my family voted that way, but I've never, obviously never ever aligned with any sort of right wing politics whatsoever. But but my childhood stories about the money side of things was that it was hard, it was scarce, it was never around for very long, it was kind of hard to get. A lot of juggling money, a lot of like, not that I can remember sort of a lot of specifics, but a lot of stress and tension about money, and oh god, this is coming up and this needs to be paid, and credit cards and interest rates and all this. I wish I'd learned more about them, as in don't get one the minute that you're 18,
God.
but that's probably
Yeah,
a
me
story for
too.
another day. But there was this definite us and them, and about rich people, and it was, if you ever did see a really nice car, what an arsehole that guy is, or like this idea that you just
Yeah.
couldn't get to that level of like wealth or home ownership. Like we owned our home, but like, having a house earned outright or having a second home or whatever, you couldn't get to a position of financial security without causing harm. So without exploiting other people, shafting other people,
Oh, interesting.
and basically losing
You had
everything
to
that
do it
made
the
you
naughty
nice.
way.
Yeah. That's it. Like
Yes.
it came at a cost, and I think back to like my childhood, the films and stuff that you watch, and I think, like Disney's got a lot to answer for, especially as it relates to women. Like every powerful woman in Disney in the 90s was like a wicked stepmom. And she was just awful, wasn't she? Or she like stole your voice, or she tried to have you murdered and leave you in the woods to die. So there's we didn't really have a lot of good women, powerful role models. Or she was a Miranda Priestley. She's got there, but at what cost? So yeah, that was me, and then again, kind of reconcile. Obviously, we'll come to the kind of reconciliation bit in a sec, but yeah, and then like I say, I've always felt very, very working class, very like aligned with the sort of punk scene. And I wonder if it reminded me of something you said earlier of like the starving artist, because we're creatives, as hairdressers and beauty therapists. I know a lot of kind of artsy types who, on one hand, dream would be to be the next Banksy, but it's like they're a sellout. And actually, a lot of my musician
Yeah.
friends, when other bands in the same sort of time era were getting signed, I remember when Bring Me the Horizon got signed to, I think, Warner for like $1 million or whatever, and all my mates in punk bands were like, "Oh, I would turn that down." I want to just play
Yeah.
sweaty basements, like as if we cling on to this, like this idea of selling out was really drilled into me from that sort of
Yeah.
scene as well, like the DIY scene. Like you can't, if you make money, you've sold your soul and you've lost all of the things that made you fit into
Yeah.
this group. So I had a lot of that.
Yeah, and I think there's something about that again around the left-leaning thing, isn't there? That if you become successful up here, you're going to become a Tory. You're going to lose your compassion
Yeah.
and all of that. It's like what's the number that you have to earn to become a dickhead? Like there's this feeling that there's a number. I wonder what it is.
Yeah, when you hit the 50% tax bracket, you have to start voting Tory. Well, just to give everyone a spoiler alert, you don't. I haven't voted Tory ever, and no amount of money would ever make me. But
no. It's
yeah.
interesting though, Maddie, isn't it? It's like politics led me to think about money, and money led you to think about politics.
Yeah.
It is so interesting how we both ended, but we both feel very similar about this, and it influences our work, I think, and how we move in the world. So when and how did the shift come for you around having money being okay?
So I think that, and I think we touched on this a bit in episode 4, More Money, More Problems. Like I had a bit of a cap on my income when I was doing hair, where I got to a point, and it was really good and it was comfortable, but I didn't really get beyond that. Not that I couldn't do it physically and with the numbers, but it was just like, okay, this feels like an okay amount to make, so I'm not going to kind of push past that. And I know we were talking about people staying under the VAT threshold and sort of kind of cock blocking themselves financially. For me, when it was the pandemic, the lockdown 2020, and obviously I was doing Bossy Salon and I brought out the calculator, that was a period where money changed for me. And, I was doing the masterclasses, and how I made my money really changed. So it really shifted from working with one person, time for money behind the chair, to doing something digitally, and also doing that at a time when all of my colleagues in the industry were closed. They were not able to make. I was making my
Yeah.
income from people who couldn't make an income, and that
Yeah.
mentally that felt really challenging. And I was doing that at a time when my friends who were front line workers were all working incredibly hard, like in the NHS, in the police, in the ambulance service and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, it actually felt horrible. Like, I felt really weird about it. And I remember chatting to my very lovely friend, Robin Leroy Evans, who you might know as Echo and Scribe. She's a copywriter. I've done a bunch of work with her before. She's lovely. And she sent me a little care package, including a pair of Crocs, which was wonderful. But she sent me a book called We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. And I'd so recommend it. It's such an easy book to read. And she, exactly as kind of as Oprah says, it was like money's an amplifier. Like, it makes you more of what you were before. So if you're an arsehole, you'll be a raging arsehole. But if you are a person who does good and helps other people and is generous and kind and everything else, then you'll just be able to do that even more. And she talked a bit about, I don't want to generalize. I am referring to this from the book, but she says that generally when a big, Bezos kind of character makes a lot of wealth, they'll tend to hoard it. So they'll keep it for themselves, they'll squirrel it away, they'll invest it. Whereas actually when women make a lot of money, we tend to spread it around. We tend to uplift other women as well.
Yes.
Do you find that as well?
Oprah said, I think that they got their information from the same place.
Yeah.
Oprah said, when women get money, they invest it in their communities and they raise everyone up around them.
Yeah.
And that's why she invests into money. That's why she puts her money into educating girls in Africa and stuff like that, because she said there will be a ripple effect.
Yes. Exactly.
Whereas there's more studies showing that men will hoard and open doors for people similar to them. And so, there's clearly some stats around this that they're all reading the same ones. And I just thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
And someone said to me once, I was about 21 and I was working at Tony and Guy, and I remember I just earned my first decent wage and as a qualified person, and I was living away from home and in my crap flat with my friend, and I was struggling to work and clean it and adult, and all of that. And this woman I worked with said to me, oh, you should hire a cleaner, Hayley, and spread the wealth now, you can afford it. And I was like, what? Say more about that. And she said, well, if you have the capacity to pay someone a wage, you should do that. That's a really great thing to do. And I just thought, and this was long before I'd heard about the Oprah stuff. And I thought, oh, I just thought it stuck with me, spread the wealth.
Yeah.
I can afford to give someone else part of their earnings. That's a lovely thing to do. And so I've never had shame around hiring a cleaner. I have friends who are too embarrassed to have a cleaner. They're like, I literally couldn't bear someone to clean my house. And I've always thought of it as, I feel thrilled that I can afford to contribute to someone's income.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've always thought about it.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Rachel talks about this as like, you can be a job creator if you want to. You can. I don't have any full-time employees apart from just me and Aidan, but we have a lot of contractors. And I was actually pondering on this the other day. There are so few men that are, apart from Aidan and my consultant, but for example, like these are all people that we're able to pay, but my accountant, financial planner, ads manager, my OBM, 2 community managers, cleaners, copywriter, launch strategist, a bunch of mentors, and even this podcast, our very lovely Lily, who does the production and edits on this. The vast majority of people that I hire as contractors or employees or whatever are women. So being able to, so like the way I kind of reconcile it is, I'm the main way that I make money is by helping other people to make money. And a lot of them are women and working class and, raising families and stuff. So I make my money kind of ethically in that sense, which then allows me to, grow a business that then requires support from these other people. So I'm able to hire these other women in to sort of share wealth with them, and for them to use that within their families, and hopefully grow their business and do exactly the same. So it feels like this really beautiful big ecosystem, rather than just going, I'm just going to keep really small, and I don't want to earn that much, but then never being able to get this kind of help. And
it's like asking for help makes you an
God,
idiot.
yeah.
Like if you're not doing it all yourself. And I just think a couple of people have said some really good things to me at pivotal points in my life that I really took on, and I think Claire saying that to me about hiring a cleaner at 21 changed my worldview massively, because my family weren't the sort of people that hired cleaners.
No,
it just, I didn't know anyone with a cleaner.
No, definitely not. I mean, a cleaner would be like a real surefire thing of like, oh, you've got a cleaner. Like, you don't clean your own house. You don't do your own. And even and even now I still have things like that. Like I was chatting with our consultant, and he's obviously a numbers guy, so he's like, why would you be doing your own cleaning when you can be doing delivery and doing work? And he was listing all the stuff that he has. Oh, some of it. He was like, oh yeah, we don't do washing. He's got kids, a wife and kids. He was like, we literally, someone knocks on the door, we hand them some bin bags full of washing, and they come back. He has lots of suits, like pressed, ironed, everything's all
amazing.
I'm sure the cleaners we worked with did like a housekeeping thing where they would literally fold stuff and put it away. And like, do your bed? I thought, oh, this is absolutely lush.
Nice. Well, I hire people as well, but again, like you, contractors, mainly women. I do hire a couple of guys though as well. My accountant's a delight. He's a fella. The guy that built my website is a joy.
Yeah.
But I have someone who does copywriting for me, Daisy. She's wonderful. I recently hired a new start branding company that she just set up, Rhiannon. And so B Brand, they're amazing. I have a cleaner. I have a VA. And so I too hire a lot of women and a couple of delightful fellas, I must say.
Yeah, we're not like excluding.
They're banned. But I think, it feels nice because I know them and I know they're self-employed, and I think I like to see them win. I know it's great, for them to have more people on their books and stuff like that. So I think it's good.
Yeah, like we all got into business to have business. So for you to be able to engage other people in their businesses, it's the same thing as a client walking in going, hi, can I be a client of yours? And you're thrilled about it. You go into a cleaner and going, hi, can I hire you? It's the same. Like, why are we, trying to just do it all ourselves and keep everything really small? And I have this ongoing, I don't want to say argument because it's not serious, but me and Aidan have had this debate for literally as long as we've been together, like 10 years. And I kind of just do it to wind him up now, where I am adamant that I'm working class. And he's like, you are absolutely not working class. Like you're a homeowner with a business and a team and a car and everything. And my side of this is that it's actually more of an internal thing. Like it's more of a state of mind, but not in a way that keeps us really, really small. But I just will always feel very aligned with my roots and my northern roots. If I ever disappear and come back with like a Chelsea accent, you need to kick us in the head.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting, Maddie, because I talk about class quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
And I think we've not had this conversation privately.
Oh, this is a new one.
But we could talk about this. But I think about myself as straddling the worlds of middle class and working class.
Yeah.
And it's a pain actually, because I feel I sort of slightly don't fit in either.
Yeah, I get
because
that.
I'm very working class in my beliefs, history, humor, all sorts of things. But I have aspirations and things that on paper are middle class.
Yeah.
But what I find is if I'm around too much middle classness, I start feeling irritated. But then sometimes if I'm around too much working class stuff, I feel stifled. And so I feel this really weird thing of, I feel actually really happy in both worlds. Yeah. I feel absolutely fine in both worlds. And I think I don't know how I'd roll in the upper class worlds. I've not had too much dealings over there, but I
Yeah.
feel like Linda would have set me up to be just like, they're just the same, Hayley. But did you ever watch Grace and Perry's documentary all about class, Maddie?
I don't know if I did, and I absolutely love Grace and Perry, so I need to put this one on my list. But no, I didn't. I don't think I
It
saw the
was
first one.
fantastic. It was brilliant. He made these tapestries about class. That was the end goal. He made these big artistic tapestries I went to see in Liverpool. But he made this documentary about working class middle. There was two sets of middle classes and the upper class, and he interviewed people, and it was fascinating. And that's when I thought to myself, I feel I slightly straddled two, and it can be difficult to straddle two.
Yeah,
You know,
and maybe
it's weird.
this is also maybe a conversation for another day where like the first time, like we call it to get pretty woman. Do you know, like when you go into a nice shop and they just assume you're just there to like, I'm like, can I buy things?
Yeah.
So that I find interesting. Obviously, I'm like very heavily tattooed. We have strong, not both of us have strong sort of regional accents. Yeah, I feel that as well, where you're like, I'm kind of living in a physical world, but I don't really feel exactly as I fit into this one. But also, you've sort of moved a little bit out of the old struggling, very working class world where their problems are not maybe the same problems of you as you've got. It is a funny little place to be, but I
Yeah, but I
think,
feel them still.
yeah,
You know, like
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel those problems.
yeah,
Because I remember them, and
yes,
sometimes I still experience. It's interesting, isn't it? That straddle. I think
yeah.
it
Maybe we
is.
need to create a new one.
I know.
A
I
working
think
middle
there's
class.
time for some redefinition, isn't there? And
Yeah.
so, is there anything anything you'd like to say, anything extra you'd like to say about this or
Yeah,
end on?
just kind of what I'd said before about like, if as long as you make your money ethically, which we all do, if you're a hairdresser or a nail artist or lash tech or whatever, like you make your money ethically, people are adults and they can make adult decisions as to whether they value the thing that you're doing based on how you've marketed that or presented that. They're part of a transaction, they're part of an agreement. You say, I'm going to give you this for this much money. That's the back and forth. They're happy to be a part of that. Then I think you can go ahead and feel okay making as much money as you're able to do. I completely agree that it's an amplifier. I think if you are a good person now, making more money will only make you be able to do more good and share that around. And I actually think that like one of the most punk acts you can do is make a bunch of money and make your life comfortable and try and help as many people as you can. Like I think that's quite a radical thing to do rather than just accept I'm going to be struggling, I'm going to be starving, things are going to be hard. Where that is in your control to do, and I believe for most people there's definitely space within their control and responsibility. I think that's a I think that's really bloody punk to be able to go, do you know what? I'm gonna take control and make my own money. I'm not gonna work for someone else. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a job creator. I'm gonna be a wealth creator, and I'm gonna experience as much life and comfort as I
Yeah,
possibly can. I think that's a
yeah, it's
badass thing to do.
empowering.
Yeah, man. What about you?
Yeah. I just want to say, I really like the thing of the world needs more money in the hands of good people. I just
Yeah,
think it's such a good phrase,
yeah,
to sort of end on. And I just think, sometimes I see people say, I'm going to do that for free. And I think, well, how about you get paid then and put that money into a charity that you care about? Instead of just not being paid and leaving that money with somebody else, why don't you take that money? And if you don't need it, put it into a cause that you care about. That's the beauty of money being in the hands of good people. And if you don't need it or feel for some reason that you shouldn't be paid for this thing, get paid and put that money somewhere that really matters to you. I think start thinking about what matters to you and
yeah,
throwing some money at it.
yeah.
This is what I think.
Totally agree.
Yeah. That's our TED Talk for today.
I love it.
So, Maddie, before we go into our hyper focuses today, I
Yeah.
believe you've got a shameless plug for this episode.
Haven't we
What
always,
have you got?
Hayley? Well, I think on the back of this, and actually what you've just said leads really nicely into it. I am going to shameless plug my masterclass, which is bossyoursalon.com/masterclass, which is free. I am able to give that for free because I have other paid things, ways that people pay me, that then allows me to do this. So just for anyone who's giving loads of freebies out, you've got to make sure that you're getting paid elsewhere and you are able to do that. So I am able to give the world this free thing because I am able to make money in other ways. So if you are struggling for money, go and watch that. It's called How to Overcome the 5 Most Common Pricing Mistakes, loads of money mindset stuff. If you found this episode interesting, I think you'll get a lot from that. And then if you are in the position to, or if you want to, you can get the calculator on that class as well. And something that I suggest for people to do who are nice, kind, altruistic, generous people is to actually create and build into your prices a pot, a fund, a budget for good deeds. So rather than just giving everyone discounts and everyone cheap prices and emotionally discounting and not charging because someone's had a bad time, you actually, very socialist vibes, we collect the money from everyone, a couple of pence extra, no one's going to notice, and that builds this little pot. So when someone's on hard times, or we just want to make a donation, or we want to do haircuts for homeless folk, or make, help a women's shelter, whatever that is, you actually have the money to do that. You're not going to then not be able to pay your bills. So we can do a little bit of sneaky socialism in the calculator, and that works really well because it's not just you bearing that. And actually clients tend to really like feeling that they're a part of, a business. They support a business that supports their community as well. So go and check it out. We'll put it in the show notes.
Brilliant. It's a fantastic webinar. Fantastic. I hear people say such good things about it all the time, Maddie.
I'm very
So, yeah, let's hyperfocus. Tell me about yours. What have you been hyperfocusing on recently?
I have a feeling I might have said this before because
so it's back.
I cycled.
We've got to return.
return
of the
hyperfocus. I can't remember if I have. I feel like I had one that was the snuggly things, snuggly clothes, autumn stuff. I'm now in a big scented candle season. Have I been in here before or not? I don't know if this is just a natural progression. New. Okay, so I just love it. I just love a scented candle. I've got all my cinnamon ones. I've got candied cane lane, gingerbreads. I'm just building a bit of a glow.
Are you seasonal with your candles?
To an extent, as in if I've still got them left over and it's sunny, I've got no problem sticking a gingerbread on in, June, whatever. But at the moment, because I'm in my autumnal hype post colour analysis, yes, I am very, very much into this. It just makes the house feel lovely, doesn't it, when it's
yes. I'm quite excited we're getting into autumn winter because so the candles I wouldn't burn in the summer are just waiting for their moment.
Get them back in rotation now.
So, yes.
It's heating on time. What's yours? What are we hyper-focusing on over there?
I had a really interesting rapid hyper-focus recently, which is something that's it's a constant one that's happened over the years, but me, you and Emma Fowler recently went to see Cabaret in London.
Amazing, by the way. Thank you.
Loved it. Yeah, which was interesting because you and Emma didn't know anything about Cabaret. You just said, yes, I'll come with you. Had no idea about the storyline. Whereas this is my favourite musical.
Yeah.
And I've seen it many, many times. And I was so excited about this. But what happened was after I'd watched it, I got fully obsessed with the Cabaret thing again. And I found myself Googling Cabaret this. And then I landed into who's played Sally Bowles in Cabaret. So Sally Bowles is the main part. So Self-Esteem played her in the version that we went to see and she was tremendous. But I found out literally so many people have said Sally Bowles. And then I ended up watching YouTube videos of people playing Sally Bowles. And I ended up watching one with Judi Dench playing her.
Oh, I can't believe that. That's good.
Yeah. And then it was who was the first person ever to play Sally Bowles? And so I ended up watching all these random grainy clips on YouTube of people over the years. But loads of people that Molly Ringwald played her. And then Emma Stone, I mean, everyone. And then I remember I went to see Cabaret at Studio 54 in, I'm going to say, the very early 2000s, late 90s. And it was amazing. And it was similar to the version that we saw. It was gritty and dark and fantastic. And I was trying to figure out who was on then, who was the star when I went,
Yeah.
but I couldn't really find that information. But I just got fully obsessed. And then I started to get obsessed with Bob Fosse again, who I was talking to you about on the day. He's the choreographer of the film and the director. And I went down a big Bob Fosse hat. I mean, I went wild for a good few hours on
You are
my
deep.
phone into all of that. I went deep into it, but this happens every now and again.
Yeah,
because it's my favourite musical, you know.
I feel like this has given me mastermind specialist subject vibes. Who played Sally Bowles, actresses 19 whatever to 2023? This is your new thing.
Well, I found something that said it was Leah Thompson who plays the mum in Back to the Future. But I feel like if it had been her, I would have remembered that.
Yeah. Oh, in
so
your one,
I don't
Studio
think.
54.
I think she was, at the Studio 54 when it said that she played her in that run. But I think it probably wasn't the same actress for the whole run. And I think if it had been the mum from Back to the Future, I would have remembered that.
Mind you say that.
and so I literally have no idea.
Well, I didn't know that I was Jake from Scissor Sisters till you said. And then as soon as you said, I was like, of course it is. But I wouldn't have, do you know, because they're like in costume and...
Yes.
There's a lot going on in Cabaret. There's a lot for the eyes to be wandering around if you've never seen it.
Jake was amazing, I thought. He was absolutely spectacular.
He was really good.
You know, I couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah.
And so if you can get yourself to London to see Cabaret, treat yourself.
Treat yourself. That's maybe Hyperfocus should be Hyperfocus / treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Order our treat.
Yes.
Well, amazing. As always, mint topic, Hayley. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Nice to talk to you, Maddie.
And you.
See you next time.
Next week. And if anyone wants to chip into this, come and comment on our stuff, get in our DMs. If there's any topics that you want to release from the privacy of a voice note into the world, bring them to us. And
We're open.
Stick them on the list. We're open for business. Wonderful. Have a wonderful day. Go listen to Cabaret soundtrack, and I will see you shortly.
I will.
See you soon.
See you later. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments.
Please support those who support us and check out Timely, who we recommend as our favourite booking system for you. New customers can get 50% off their first 3 months with the code COFFEE50.